Hey guys and gals, Effie here. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Philip Defranco, who is a news guy here on YouTube, opened up some questions to his community, and I wanted to sort of pass those on and share them with you because I thought that the thought exercise itself was really interesting.
I want to make a video with you. Right now, we're trying to gather as many people's thoughts and feelings and how the pandemic has impacted you over the past 2 years. Who were you before the pandemic? What's the most important lesson you've learned from the pandemic? And who will you become because of the pandemic?
I lost my ability to work at a regular full-time job in 2011, and although I have sort of supplemented my income in various ways, my ability to do those sorts of things long-term is sort of fluctuates based on how my body is responding to things. So I started streaming on Twitch and I started doing YouTube content, and I've kind of done that hit and miss off and on since about 2016. Sometimes I'm doing really well and can be really productive, and sometimes I'm not doing very well and I can't produce at all. So 2019 rolls around, and then I went home for Thanksgiving, and my mother has dementia, and she was not doing as well as I thought that she was. So at that time, we started talking about, do we need to shift from the UK to the US? And, Dad seemed to have things in control, and he seemed to know what to do. They had carers coming in and that sort of thing. So after talking to my dad and talking to my mom and talking to my sister, we decided to stay in the UK. And I got my citizenship in January of 2020. So I became an official UK citizen. I'm still a US citizen. I hold dual citizenship. And then 2 months later, the whole world shut down. And because I was already used to day-to-day life in my house, it wasn't really that much of a change for me. COVID hit and the whole world around me was all in chaos and afraid, and my day-to-day life didn't really change very much. My husband was home and that was different, but for me, the pandemic hit and it was just more of the same. So everybody else I knew was sort of in this terror induced panic that, everything was changed and everything was different and the whole world was falling apart. And for me, everything was kind of the same. And because of that, I never really got the emotional impact from COVID that the people around me were having. And I kept waiting to feel different, and I just never did. So everyone around me sort of had these 6 months in, 8 months in, they start exercising, they start eating better, they start picking up hobbies, playing instruments and singing and learning how to do all these cool things, taking classes, And because I was kind of just living the same life that I had done for years at that point, I didn't really get that sweep of positivity that everybody else got. I didn't really get that sort of motivating boost of, okay, I can do this. I'd already had that years before. I had just completely stopped producing altogether. I wasn't making anything. And it's not that the door wasn't open. I just didn't step through it. I just couldn't quite get the same energy behind it that everybody else seemed to have. The one thing that we did wind up doing, which kind of happened by accident, was because of Mom's deterioration in December of 2020, we came back to the US with the intention of staying for just a few months. We happened to squeak through a 3-day window where they all of a sudden let people from the UK enter the US. And then 2 days after we landed, they closed the door again and people weren't allowed to travel from the UK to the US anymore. And because we weren't sure when we'd be able to come back, we just didn't leave. We applied for a visa extension and thankfully the government granted it. And we got to stay, and that was really great. That gives us time to sort of figure out what to do with Mom. And so the only thing that I did that was life-changing wasn't even something for myself. It wasn't even something to sort of benefit me or grow myself or improve myself in any way. It was sort of a last-ditch desperate move done out of love for someone else, and that's okay, but it kind of left me feeling like I had this opportunity handed to me and I just squandered it. Everybody was at home, they were consuming a lot more content. That was the time to start really investing my energies into creating things for people to consume so that they could find me. And I just didn't do it. And I knew when it was happening that I wasn't doing it, and still somehow could not get up the motivation to make myself do it. December 2021 rolls around. We've been in the US for a year. It became clear that we weren't going to be leaving anytime soon. By that time, my husband had been granted his green card, so we knew that we were going to be able to stay long term. And it sort of hit me that I had just blown this 2-year opportunity to sort of build something, to enhance my life, to grow and improve, and I'd missed it. The world was opening up again and everything was starting to go back to normal. People were going back to work, their consumption of content was going down, and I'd missed it. I missed the opportunity. And that wasn't good enough. It just wasn't. And I turned 40 in January of 2022, and I kind of sat down and said, what is it that I am wanting to do with my life? What is it that I have always wanted to do and never really seized, never really done, never really reached for? And one of the things that kind of came up was I had always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to write a book since I was maybe 20. And I just never did. I just never did. There was always a reason to not do the thing that I had always wanted to do. And I was like, well, you have the time. You're not doing anything. I wasn't streaming on Twitch. I wasn't making videos for YouTube. I wasn't doing anything. And I started writing, and I have been writing ever since. It is now May of 2022, 5 months later, and I have written one complete novel and most of a second one. I have outlined a third and kind of sort of gotten some scenes written for a fourth, and I feel like I've actually accomplished something. I haven't published anything yet, but the exercise of writing the books is teaching me so much, and I have spent the last 5 months sort of learning about storycraft, learning about character development, learning about how to write a story, how to build a story. And of course, my first published effort is probably not going to be great, but I will get it done. I know I'll get it done. So yeah, it took me 2 years to catch up with everybody else, but I'm finally here and I couldn't be more pleased with myself. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And of course, if you like the way that I present information, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below. You can find all of my social media contacts in the description. And of course, if you want to keep up with me and the progress I'm making on my current novel, you can do that at effywritesbooks.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have an excellent day, and I'll see you next time.